Well, we've got the latest immigration numbers. Get a load of this. Every day, Australia is taking in 1,544 new people. That's the equivalent of 5 fully loaded Boeing 787 Dreamliners. That's day after day, week after week. In the first 6 months of this year, 279,000 arrivals.
This is really disingenuous reporting, and I'm going to need to fact check where you're getting your numbers from, man. Because if you go to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, this is the latest release, and the next release isn't until December. So first of all, where are those numbers coming from if it's not the official Bureau of Statistics? And as you can see, and you can check this out yourself, net migration was 446,000, down from 536,000 the previous year, which was the record year. And 446,000 divided by how many days in the year? Well, that's only 1,221. Even if you want to take the record year, which is 536,000, well, that's only 1,468. So to get to this 1,500 a day number, where are you getting your information, man? Because this is the official information. So let's look at what the actual information can tell us, because you can see here from 2014 through 2020, this is the steady rate of immigrants coming into the country. And, well, there's obviously a big dip around COVID. And, well, this peak here, which there's the record, that's due to catching up from COVID. And if you draw like a trend line across, you can see we're basically coming back to the normal trend of where it was going. And this yellow line here is, as you can see below, net overseas migration. So this is how many people are leaving Australia per year. And you can see a big difference, like very, again, obvious difference of the amount of people that are actually leaving. Well, that gap has narrowed. And as this data shows, the largest group of migrant arrivals was temporary students, and this goes for every single year. Here's the thing with international students is that universities and education facilities have quotas that they are trying to hit because international students help pay for the university. And so without them, the taxpayer would be footing the bill to support our universities. Now, there was one party that went to the election offering free university in TAFE, but everyone complained that it would be up to the taxpayer to foot the bill. So international students are a must-have for our university and higher education systems to continue without the taxpayer footing the bill. So let's remove the 207,000 people that come here as international students from that big scary number, and we're down to 239,000 immigrants. And included in that total number, there's 90,000 temporary visa holders, including visitors. So let's take that 90,000 out of the figure because, again, they're not permanent, they're just visiting. That's down to 168,000 now.
If we zoom out further and look at the 2024-2025 financial year, we've had 457,000 new arrivals. That's nearly 500,000. Basically, the population of Canberra, almost 3 times the number of people in Cairns.
Again, where are you getting those figures from? But I'm glad you used the example of Cairns there, because included in the actual data were working holiday makers, which are about 80,000 worth. And places like Cairns were dying during COVID because there was no immigration and they didn't have those working holiday makers. And the farmers were pushing to get breaks in the gap of the pandemic restrictions so that they could get overseas workers to come and work on their farms. So tourism and farming are affected without migrant immigrants and temporary workers. So let's take out that 80,000 from that big scary number and we're down to just 88,000 arrivals. And then also included in the figures are the temporary skilled visas, which is 49,000 worth. And with a lot of people complaining that all this immigration is putting a strain on our infrastructure and we can't keep things running, well, the temporary skilled visas are specifically designed for people to come in and fill gaps in critical jobs. Everything from doctors and scientists and nurses to labourers and manufacturers. And without them, we simply do not have the people to fill those roles in those areas of expertise. So what's being done about that? Well, Labor's pushing for a 50-50 split between universities and vocational education. And their free TAFE scheme is designed to get people into the jobs that are needed for our future and our industries. But this is a big controversial thing that the Liberals want to get rid of. So what is it? Do you want more people to fill those skilled positions from within Australia or temporary visa holders from outside of Australia? So again, the skilled workers, they're a necessity. And now we're down to just 39,000 people left.
And this is why you've got a number of people planning big protests on the 31st of August and vowing to take back our country. They're not racist or xenophobic to want to protect the Australian way of life.
Now this is interesting because the top 5 spots are from India, China, Philippines, Australia and the UK. This brown line here is literally Australian-born people migrating back to Australia. The dark blue is China and the light blue is India. And you can see here the spike again after COVID of how many Indian migrants are coming to Australia. But I find it interesting that he keeps on using shots of Albo there because look at this trend from 2014 through to 2020. I mean, if that trend line kept on going through, we'd be at a much higher rate. And who was in power from 2014 through to 2020? Couldn't have been the Liberals, could it? Back to this number, because remember, this 39,000 is once we've gotten rid of all the essential people for schooling, tourism, and, well, our infrastructure and everything actually continuing. Just 39,000 people. What else could those 39,000 people be on temporary visas migrating to Australia for? Now, I can't find the actual data on this, but if you want to be an actual journalist, Ben, and find the information, go ahead. But you could probably guess that it would be a mix of things like partner visas, because this is the total that the government is expecting to come in 24-25. And remember, people that are here on partnership visas often have to live with their spouse, so they're not taking up any extra housing. It could be a range of other temporary visas like employment sponsored or distinguished talents like movie industry and stuff. And if we take 39,000 on the left, it's only 106 people per day, much less than the 1,500 figure that he's putting up. And there's no saying how many of them are families of 4 or on partnership visas where, well, they're not actually taking up any more space. But 39,000 is an interesting figure because we all know that one of the people promoting this march on the 31st quite heavily, well, his family owns this company who are land banking over 30,000 properties. And that's just one company amongst many in this sector. So Ben, how many people out of that 39,000 unaccounted temporary visa holders could be housed by the people organising this march? I mean, migrants themselves don't seem like that big of a problem now, do they?